Hi, I'm Zach Kesson and welcome to the Beam channel. Today I wanted to talk about one of the truly cool features in Erlang and Elixir, which is tracing. Now I'm not talking about using a pencil to go over a picture in a book like we did when we were kids. Well, that's pretty cool too. But looking at what you can do to determine what functions are being called by what in a live system in a safe way. So you, assuming you don't do this too stupidly, can do this in a way that you will not blow up a production system. But you can still check on things if something is going wrong, but only very rarely. So if you can't maybe reproduce a bug exactly, this is a good way to sort of isolate it. And Erlang has some built-in trace utilities, but they're kind of hard to use and a little cryptic. So I recommend using the recon module. And specifically, I'm going to talk about recon trace. Now this is by Fred Haber, who wrote Learn You Some Erlang and a number of other books, and specifically the one you should look at for this is Erlang in Anger. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I recommend it highly. You can get it online. I'll put a link down below. I think the world of Fred. Anyway, so what recon trace lets you do is say, and there's a lot of options, and I won't go into all of them. You can go read them up. But very simply, say I want to see any calls to a given function, and you specify by module function and arguments. And the way you can do that is you simply use the function recon trace calls to, and that takes a parameter somewhat like this, and you simply give it module function and arguments. You can also use the atom underscore if you want to have a wildcard, if you want to do that. That's kind of nice. And then you give it a second parameter, which is an integer, so like 10, for example, which is say record 10 calls before it stops. This is how it stays safe. If you have something that might generate thousands and thousands of messages, you don't want to overflow your system. That could break things. So we're going to just say, give me 10. Now, there are a lot more options. If you use the 3-parameter version, you can use match specs and things like that, but that's a subject for a later video. And when you do that, you get a nice output a bit like this. Now normally it outputs just to the console that the call function has been made. But you can use a parameter to redirect that. If you set the I/O server with the options, and we'll take a look at this code, which is sort of a proto test, and give it a formatter function, you can format how, instead of outputting it, it'll send it to you as a message. Now this is great. If you're ever writing a test, be it a unit test or a quick check property or something, where you want to verify that a certain function has been called with certain parameters as part of your assertions, you can use this code. Take a look at this code. I'll put a link to a gist up online. This isn't a real test, obviously, but you can see what it does is it says, okay, record that this function, trace this function, and then you want to assert that it has been received, and you'll get this nice little assertion back, and that the event and socket parameters, which would have been previously set, are the actual calling things, and if not, you'll get an error message. Now this is conveniently very useful in that you can then just, instead of having it basically as a spy, you don't have to change your code at all to validate that a function has been called. You just add this in, completely safe, and you can turn it off with module call stop when you're done. So that is a really cool feature in Erlang and Elixir. This is Elixir syntax, but you can also do it in Erlang, totally fine. I hope you find that useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and if you'd like help with this or any other aspect of Erlang or Elixir, please feel free to contact me via the links down below, and I'll see you next time.